Welcome to Why Should I Invest? Developed by the International Collegiate Angels Network, or ICAN. At ICAN, we believe that campus-born ventures are today's most underappreciated asset class. Each podcast will spotlight a campus-born founder and the venture they're building. I'm going to ask the tough questions that investors would want to ask. Today, I'm meeting with Raphaël Giami, and he is the CEO and founder of Panacea-ml. It's a company that develops trial design SaaS platform to help pharma de-risk and accelerate its clinical development with eXplainable-AI. Raphaël, welcome to the show. And tell us a little bit about your background and certainly give us more information on the origin of Panacea.
My pleasure. Thank you very much, Tom, for inviting me to your podcast. I have a scientific and legal background and specialize in healthcare product and pharmaceutical law with an MBA in healthcare innovation entrepreneurship. For over 15 years, I'm involved in tech and clinical development. My professional experience spans entrepreneurship and strategic partnerships. And I've always been, drawn to solving hard problems at the intersection of health and technology.
Mm-hmm.
The story behind Panacea-ml started out of a collaboration and my personal connection with a visionary, Professor Boaz Lerner, who is a professor of machine learning and data science from the Ben-Gurion University in Israel. And he developed the eXplainable-AI that underpins our technology. And together, we realized that while many companies were applying AI to healthcare, none were focused on explainability and clinical transparency, especially in clinical trials, where it is a clinical necessity, but also a regulatory requirement. And this mattered to me personally because, drug development is deeply broken. Companies pour years and billions into trial that fail not because the drug isn't effective, but because the design is flawed. And I've seen during my career the human and economic cost of this inefficiency, and we knew we could do better. The industry knows it can do better. So that's why we started Panacea-ml, to make clinical development more precise, more explainable, and ultimately more successful.
Right. Well, there's a couple of hot buttons in that little story, and one of them is AI is kind of a hot button, and for a while anything with AI was going to be something that people took a serious look at, and now it's like, well, everybody's putting AI on almost everything that they do. So tell us a little bit about your artificial intelligence, the AI model that you have, and what makes it kind of unique and what differentiates it from all the other AI that we hear about in the field today.
Yeah. So just to give a little bit of background of today AI landscape, right? You have the traditional AI technologies.
Mm-hmm.
We talk about, deep learning, large language models, the ChatGPT, this world. And those are, AI that are based on black boxes. Even the guy that wrote the codes doesn't really understand or why the AI gives such an output at the end. So you get great precision of the output if you look for prediction, for example. Even for classical, machine learning methodology like neural network or random forest. But when it comes to clinical trials, and like I introduced, is the fact that you need to understand what is behind the data that you are collecting on patient, because at the end of the day, you're dealing with patients, right? You're giving a drug that is not really assessed whether or not the benefits risk ratio is positive, and you give it to patients. So you need to understand what really affects what that affects the thing or the hypothesis that you're trying to demonstrate. Now, what we bring to the table is the faculty of understanding all causal relationships within the data.
Mm-hmm.
So usually when you talk about biostatistics or you talk about classic AI, you can understand that there is a good, perfect, super high correlation between two factors. And I will give you an example that Professor Lerner gives, which is pretty simple, right? Imagine that you are testing the hypothesis between, or the correlation between smoking and lung cancer. the classical approach would show that there is a high correlation between smoking and lung cancer, but you would not be able to understand if it's smoking that causes lung cancer or the other way around, right? Only your whole expertise or logic will tell you, listen, it must be smoking that causes lung cancer, not the other way around. Now, when you touch a bit of more, complex data or complex biological interactions, knowing exactly that only smoking can cause lung cancer and not the other way around is a super huge advantage, right? So this is what causal discovery theory, technology that we are using, Panacea-ml, and the graph modeling that we have enables to identify. So you will be able, as a pharma company, as a clinical developer, as a data science, to basically look at your data and understand all the cause and effect that will affect the endpoint that you're looking to solve. If it's, reduction of a specific symptoms, reduction of safety issues, whatever you would like to affect, this modeling will enables you to predict, but also clinically understand the underlying of the reflection.
Oh, fascinating. And so I guess the training data for your AI model is scientific articles or journal articles about past
This is great.
clinical trials and so on?
So great question, Tom, because unlike others, right, we do not touch literature and we do not touch preclinical data. The reason is that our models are based without any assumptions. The idea is like when you look to the industry today, let's say a specific indication called ALS, 80% of the protocols you will see that is today or in operations are basically copy-paste, right? You take a protocol and you redo again and again based on your prior assumptions, based on the literature, et cetera, et cetera. And this drives to failure because those are past failures that you keep repeating yourself. So the idea was how can we get rid of everything and just look at the data? So basically what we do is that we look at the data from the previous clinical trial data of the sponsor, and we'll identify within this data an AI-driven model that enables you to be non-biased.
Okay.
Now, one of the biggest challenges for the pharma and the customer is that okay, but if you start your analysis or your modeling based on a specific data set, right? You will only be able to shrink my label because you will be only able to find subpopulation within this data, which is correct. And one of the strength of Panacea-ml is our data access to over 1 million electronic patient records. We have a partnership with an Israeli HMO that provides us with data access.
Okay.
And is basically when we identify the causal signature within the data of a specific responder group profile, right? We're going to check on real world data to see if we can find a similar signature, basically being able to either retarget the entire population target or basically to add also patient cohorts that do not respond well to the standard of care and could respond well to the drug that is tested. So the value proposition is first, revealing causality within your data. Two, identifying false positive and false negative trial readouts. Being able to optimize patient selection with identification of subpopulation of responders. So add additional profile of patients when those patients have what we call standard of care deficiencies, right?
Yeah. Interesting. I have so many more questions in this line, but I'm going to move on to, because I think our investors want to know, where are you in your product roadmap and product development?
So as of today, we already have tested and validated our technology in 8 clinical trials across multiple indication. We're talking about diabetes, ALS, rare diseases, and oncology, working directly with the pharma partners and sponsors. And the early beginning of our roadmap were to demonstrate the scalability of the technology. And the fact that we are disease agnostic showed that once we collaborate with a pharmaceutical company, we can easily integrate into their pipeline by, defining the indication that we can support. So we did it with the same tool in different indication, as I mentioned, and we demonstrated already that we are able to rescue failed phase 3 trial by identifying false negative due to misidentified patient groups, to reduce cohort patient by 30%, 7 millions, specifically 18 in 6 months in our timeline. And what needs to be done today, it's two specific added value that we are bringing on the table is one, what we call interactivity. So the next milestone, and basically this is what we're going to do with the million that we are asking in this funding round, is let's look at AI has been done today, and specifically deep learning. When you build a model and you provide the model to your user, the user can use this model to different data sets in order to have different type of prediction and different type of outcomes. But when he wants to change something in the model, you need to redo the process from the beginning, right? The idea of Panacea is basically to build a pipeline that enable the user at each and every step to interact with the machinery, input their own prior knowledge, medical expertise, clinical expertise, and have the different scenario evolving live on the screen. And this is what we call interactivity. And from our perspective, this is the sticky features that will enable the user to go back to the platform and reuse it in order to, build different scenarios, test different hypotheses, and select different type of cohorts and design. And the last thing, is also the ability to use what we call real-world data-based model. So I talked about, the faculty that when we identified signature within the data, we gonna look for the same similar signature in the real-world data in order to implement those patients in the protocol. But we would like to do also the other way around. We would like to build models on the real-world data for the sponsor to be able to use it in different hypotheses. So those are the two main, I will say, technological features that will be developed in our roadmap for the next funding round.
Interesting. And what do you estimate as the addressable market, the total addressable market for this?
So when you look at the global clinical trial market, we're talking about $50 billion globally. And our market segment, or our industry market segment, is the clinical trial design and analytics segment, which represent 12% of this overall market. So we talk $6 billion of dollar, with CSCG of 7.2.
It's always nice to have a B in the number.
We have a B in the number, but focusing for now, in our go-to-market strategy, even if we are disease agnostic, we're focusing on the CNS, metabolic and autoimmune segment, which represent around 30% of the market, with 3,000 of trial per year, right? And as of today, our average annual subscription deal size is around 85,000 per trial, meaning that if you look to our service addressable market, we're talking about 255 million per year. You look to our initial traction, competitive advantage on similar company in the field, but also on the business model that we are now bringing on the market, we can reasonably expect $25 million annual revenue in the 5 years, which represents a 10% penetration rate.
Right. So investors are always interested in your current customers and whether you're revenue generating. Can you tell us whether, I know you've got a couple of folks that you're working with, a couple of companies that you're working with. Are you generating revenue?
So we, not on the SaaS model again. So we are generating revenue on pilots and service-based project. The idea is to, have foot in the door in order to be able to scale, right? So usually what we do is that we do a small pilot demonstrating the value of the technology. And then Now the next step is to transfer all those customers as recurring customers in our SaaS platform.
Right.
But when you look to customers, you need to differentiate between what I call established pharmaceutical company and emerging pharmaceutical company, which is basically biotechs, right? For biotechs, you need to apply a different business model. They usually, risk averse and low on budget. So what we did, and we already have signed a couple of contracts in this, is that you add a success fee to the collaboration. And during the incubation period, we already have secured a $2 million ALS co-development contract with milestone-based revenue based on specific success within the development of their molecule. So this is also a great achievement. We also have been the first, and this is why at the beginning I told you I went to Boston twice. The first Israeli startup to graduate from FarmStars. I don't know if you're familiar with FarmStars, but it's a Boston-based accelerator focused on connecting digital startup with big pharma.
Right.
And this was, great insight into these pharma giant challenges in clinical development, but also helped us to build strong relationship with companies like Eli Lilly, Alexion, and Genmab in the US. And now we are in the process of collaborating with two of the major top 20 pharma companies.
Very interesting.
Sorry, you wanted to add?
No, exciting. That's exciting. And when did you complete the FarmStars program?
So we completed in last June.
Okay.
So June
2024. Okay.
Yeah. And actually, the CEO of the program became one of our advisory board members. Dr. Naomi Fried, and she's great. And we also have a few, scientific recognition with oral presentation of our work. For example, at the International Symposium in ALS in 2024 at Basel, the MIXI 2024 in Jerusalem, and we have now a poster that should be presented at the American Diabetes Association this summer in Boston, and for our recent work with one of our pharma partners. Basically, we work fast and lean, and the market is responding.
Right. It sounds exciting. You're on a good pathway. We only have a couple more minutes. So tell me a little bit more about your team.
So we are a multidisciplinary team with over 35 years in AI and data science, 15 in clinical trials and pharma, and 10 in SaaS development. So I'm working alongside Professor Boaz Lerner, founder and chief scientific officer. He is a recognized expert in eXplainable-AI, has a PhD in computer engineering, postdoc in Cambridge, and a professorship at Ben-Gurion University. He is a pioneer in applying graphic models and causal discovery to clinical trials with over 120 peer-to-peer publications and deep ties with all the Israeli HMOs and medical centers. I present myself at the beginning of the podcast, so maybe a couple of words for our world-class advisory board with leaders from the big pharma. We're talking about Roche, Novartis, Merck, Pfizer, but also from the biotech, from Microsoft and IQVIA, and they'll see as a game changer in clinical trial data analysis.
Great job. And if people want to get in touch, how do they get in touch with you?
LinkedIn, our website, www.panacea-ml.com, or directly by email to Raphael @panacea-ml.com.
Awesome. And I wrap up every episode by asking the fundamental question, why should I invest?
I mean, if you would like to, back the future of smarter, more efficient drug development, we'd love to talk. We have a high IP differentiation and competitive edge. We're an incredible team, and we know how to scale things and execute strategy, which is, I believe, for startup, the most important thing.
Well said. Thank you, Raphael. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your time.
For more information about how you can get involved in the ICAN mission, please contact me directly via email at tomdenning@icanhub.net.